Noon. We're here today for the meeting on November 22nd for the Education, Environment, Sustainability meeting. Can I have a roll call? And it's 3:10? 9.
And just as a reminder to all who are in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Simon.
Here.
Ms. Stevens.
Present.
Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is absent at the moment. Mr. Shrine. Ms. Conwell.
Present.
There is a quorum. Also like the record to reflect that Councilman Miller is in attendance.
Public comment?
No, Madam Chair, no one is signed in.
And can I have a motion to approve the minutes from November 1st? All in favor? Aye. Minutes approved, adopted. We have several matters today referred to committee. I appreciate everybody being here the eve of Thanksgiving. And I want to start with 2023-0312.
Resolution number 2023-0312, awarding a total sum not to exceed $10,000 to the Waterloo Alley Cat Project for the care of abandoned and feral cats from the District 11 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Good
Hi.
afternoon. Can you give your name?
Deborah Goulias, and I represent the Waterloo Alley Cat Project. And I have a video that I brought that explains the whole project. So,
Sure.
Meet Debbie Goulias. She is the founder of the Waterloo Alley Cat Project, and she has a very important story to tell. When Debbie and her husband Pete opened their business, Blue Arrow Records, on Waterloo Road in 2009, there were cats and kittens everywhere. Cats were living on every side of the street, in the bushes, looking for food in the dumpsters, crossing the streets, and of course getting hit by cars. Debbie had never seen anything like it, and she actually dreaded coming to work because the cats were hungry and suffering. And it also seemed like Pete was burying a cat every week after finding them lying dead in the road, some of them right in front of their business. Well, not surprisingly, she spent many days worrying about the sick kittens that were living in the bushes rather than focusing on her work. So Debbie decided she had to do something. Obviously, the overpopulation of cats left the impression of an uncaring community. At the time, Waterloo's $4 million streetscape renovation project was slated to begin in a few years. She worried about how that would affect the welfare of the cat population. Along with the help of Jessica Manco, Monica Doyle, Julie Mack, and Northeast Shores Development Corporation, the Waterloo Alley Cat Project was born. The Animal Protective League estimates there are over 3,000 feral or homeless stray cats in our North Collinwood neighborhood. This overpopulation is not unique to the Collinwood community. In fact, it's happening in every city across the country. Feral cats originate primarily from lost or abandoned unsterilized pet cats. An unsterilized female cat can produce 2 to 3 litters per year. Each litter can average 4 to 6 kittens, so if you do the math, you quickly realize that the problem is exponential. And believe it or not, removing and euthanizing the cats doesn't work because of feral cat dynamics, and more cats just move in from neighboring colonies. An approach called Trap, Neuter, Release, also known as TNR, has become the most effective and humane way to reduce the cat populations. Here's how TNR works. The cats are trapped in a humane trap, then taken to a clinic to be spayed or neutered, vaccinated for rabies, and the left ear is tipped, which is the universal sign that a cat is fixed. The felines are held to recover for 2 days in a cage and then returned to their original territory. A trained caretaker provides food and shelter on a daily basis and watches for new cats that may enter that colony. The Waterloo Alley Cat Project has been practicing TNR since 2009 and has spayed or neutered over 250 cats. Incredibly, their target area around Waterloo Road has not had any additional kittens since 2012, and the population is now actually decreasing. All of this work has been done by 4 volunteers. The Waterloo Alley Cat Project continues to feed, supply shelter, and monitor 55 feral cats every single day. Now, we want to emphasize that Waterloo Alley Cat Project is not a traditional cat rescue organization and does not have a facility suited to take in abandoned cats. This organization depends solely upon donations and grant money to carry out their mission, which, not surprisingly, has challenged all of the volunteers individually to learn how to raise funds. The Waterloo Alley Cat Project is an all-volunteer organization with dedicated members who hold down full-time jobs. Their successes include a Neighborhood Connection grant, 2 ASPCA grants, 2 Collinwood Rising grants, a CPAC grant for artists to decorate cat shelters, and they have held 5 successful fundraisers. You can also find their donation jars in This Way Out Vintage, Music Saves, Space Rock Gallery, and Blue Arrow Records, all located on Waterloo Road in the Collinwood neighborhood. With money raised, this group has purchased 9 humane traps, 4 recovery cages, and continue to buy food for the feline colonies, as well as pay for veterinary care when funds allow. The nature of their work in the community has provided the Waterloo Alley Cat Project great opportunities to meet and interact with their neighbors and let them know that they're taking care of the cats that may wander through their yards. The members of the Waterloo Alley Cat Project feel very fortunate to live and volunteer in their community where trap-neuter release is supported. The group is also lucky to have the choice of 2 low-cost spay-neuter clinics to choose from in Cleveland, the Cleveland APL and PetFix in Euclid. We hope this story and video inspires a few of you who may be concerned about the homeless cats in your community and provide you with some ideas of what you can do to help.
That was great, Debbie. It was awesome. So I hope people in the audience learned something about TNR. I don't know if that's something on people's radar, but it's an effective way to clean up neighborhoods when there's neighbor complaints and so many cats. It's a win-win. So I want to know if there's questions from committee on the project.
Madam Chairman, it reminds me a lot of one of our council, our chairwoman's passion for the deer population. It's very similar to what was done and being done in Euclid. So
Great.
Congratulations to you on that. And I do buy some of my used vinyl from you folks.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it's fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Councilwoman?
I was just going to say, you guys are doing a wonderful job.
Thank
and thank
you.
you. You show what community, even though it's a little small population of that community, what you can do together and
Yes,
get a problem resolved. So thank you.
thank you.
Madam Chair, I move that we move this forward to the full council.
Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So, this will have 2 more readings, and you don't have to come back to the full council, but
Okay.
you can. I'll let you know when that is. But
Okay.
this will be for the full council body to consider, but there'll be a recommendation out of this committee, and I want to say thank you for your work.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for
Pete.
this opportunity.
Yeah, we know it's important and expensive, right? So this
Yes.
money's going to go toward the.
Yes, food and vet care
Yep,
are 2 big expenses, so.
okay.
Does council
right.
have use of that video that you showed? Do we have use of that video? to
Oh,
use it?
yes.
And
Feel free.
Okay, are we allowed, well, she owns it, so I want.
Yeah, no, I give you
You just put it
permission.
in the public venue.
And
Yeah.
doesn't mean I can reproduce it, though. Last time I checked.
Oh, you want to reproduce it?
I do. I want to use it, I want to show it at my holiday party at my office.
Wow, thank
And
you.
I don't know if you know where my office is, but we're right across the street from you. We're on the other side of Waterloo.
Really?
Yeah, Jurgens. We're
Wow.
Jurgens by the food
Yes.
bank.
yeah, it's
Yes.
right next to the food bank.
Wow.
Thanks. I
Yes,
will
feel
show it,
free.
because we're always looking for fundraisers at our holiday party. So
Oh,
this
thank
will be
you.
shown in about 3 weeks. Yep.
Good, really good video, too.
Yeah.
All right,
Well, it helped. My brother does voiceover, so
okay.
anyway.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good Thanksgiving. Next item.
Resolution number 2023-0323, making an award on requisition number 11017, Event 362, to 21C LLC, doing business as Compass Energy Platform, Compass, for consulting and management services for the Cuyahoga County Electric Utility and Microgrid for a period of 10 years.
Hello, Director Foley.
Hi, Councilwoman Mike Foley from the Department of Sustainability. And we have a PowerPoint. Just gonna. Okay. Thanks. Mike Foley from Department of Sustainability. This is for this item's for the long-term contract, 10-year contract with Compass Energy Platform to operate our utility that we passed in 2021, and also to have development rights for the first 3 projects that we have in the queue. So I'm going to walk through just some basic background context of where we're at with the project overall, walk through the RFQ that we did that Compass won, talk a little bit about the contract, and then next steps that we're looking to do. First, the county has done a lot of work around energy projects over the last 5 or 6 years. So we've got, this is the Brooklyn Landfill Project, 35,000 solar panels. That electricity runs into county buildings, covers about 10% of our needs for 6 county buildings that are on CPP lines. We've done county rooftop solar in a number of our buildings. So we've done the animal shelter, the J900 building, the medical examiner's building. We say we have the greenest morgue in the world, which usually gets a groan or two. And then we just did the Harvard Road Garage last year. We've got 2,156 panels on there. So it's a great project. And if you ever want to go out on the roof, there's a great view of downtown from the top of the rooftop with the solar panels on it. So we've got some experience doing projects, energy projects just for county facilities. We've also helped with a residential solar co-op. So we run a co-op every year with a group called Solar United Neighbors. We've helped about 400 homeowners throughout the county go solar on their own rooftops. So we've kind of worked a lot around not just our stuff, but also helping residents in the county. All told, we've done put about 45,000 solar panels just through county operations and county projects over the last 5 years across the county. One of the things that we know we've had just issues with is we worked on developing a downtown microgrid. We thought that electricity in and of itself is a really important thing. It's not going to go away. One of the issues we have is that there's power quality issues. So when power goes down, especially for businesses, manufacturers, they're losing product, they're losing staff time, they have to send workforce home, they're losing equipment sometimes. They can't ship things out of their bays because their product is behind doors. So one of the things we've worked on is thinking through how can we help the local businesses that exist already with having higher quality power. So in 2021, we came to council with the idea of creating a county utility, which you passed. And the idea was at least to start off with microgrid districts in front of the meter microgrid districts where if the grid goes down, we'll be able to keep power up for these kind of districts that we're going to be developing. And so we've got a kind of first 3 sets of projects that I'll walk through in a second. But basically, we will use local electricity, local generated clean electricity with solar panels. We'll take some power off the larger transmission grid. We'll have backup battery systems, so to help with the power goes down, automatically switches on to the local generation sources, and then we'll keep power up. For it could be, as little as maybe a company wants 2 hours of resiliency, and they're willing to pay for 2 hours, or maybe they want 2 weeks worth of resiliency. So we'll be able to figure that out for different customers in different districts. Basically, is kind of what the project is. So in 2021, we passed the ordinance to allow us to create the utility. In 2022, we hired consultants to help us figure out how to do this. So we hired Go Sustainable Energy. Peter Worley is here from Go Sustainable, and Andy Thomas from Cleveland State University's Energy Policy Center. Some really smart folks who just kind of think about energy policy and practices across the board. So they've helped us kind of design the structure of where we're going with the utility. In summer 2022, we put out a request for information to kind of the energy industry as a whole. We got over 40 responses from companies from the United States to even some in Europe who are thinking about, all right, technology, structure, how should this all fit together, economics. And we used that to put out our RFQ, all that information in RFQ last fall, last winter. At RFQ, we got 4 responses, and We chose out of the 4 responses a group called Compass Energy Platform to be our utility operator. We chose Compass because, one is they are really smart about microgrid development, microgrid projects. They've got experience doing this. They've done a lot of work in New Jersey, Boston, Buffalo. They're doing a microgrid project right now for UPS that services all of Manhattan and Secaucus, New Jersey. So they've got great expertise in working on microgrids, and they're kind of an industry, known as an industry kind of leader in this, or thought leader, I guess. Secondly, they bring some really strong engineering. So they've got a group called Arup Engineering, who is kind of world-class, worldwide engineering firm. It just works on energy projects. So they've done 3 things up there. The John Wayne Airport, they've done a microgrid there. And Los Angeles, they did the utility plant there. And right now they're working on the bus depot that's all solar electric buses that are powered by solar power, just for a project in Maryland. And then lastly, when we came to council, one of the things you said is, hey, look, we want to de-risk this as much as possible for the county. We want other people to pay for this, basically. So one of the things that Compass brings is money. So they bring resources to pay for the build-out and operations of the microgrid district. So they bring a group called the Amber Infrastructure Group, who will be paying for the build-out of the first 3 sets of projects that we're going to be working on. The contract is a 10-year contract. Compass will be doing the basic operations of the utility, so billing of customers. You have to buy power off the larger transmission grid, so there's scheduling power buys. There's operation and maintenance. If something goes wrong, right, they need to send an electrician out to go fix a wire or fix something, a piece of machinery, or microgrid controller device or something like that. They'll be doing that. They will be bidding out for construction companies to be doing these projects. So they will have the rights to develop, but they will be building out for construction companies to actually be doing this on our behalf. They will be embedded in those RFPs for those construction companies will be the county standards around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also labor standards. So using as much local labor as possible and local labor union as possible. The economics of this is that the upfront capital will be paid for by Amber and Compass. They get paid back through long-term contracts with customers. So you have a microgrid district that right now may have 6 or 7 large manufacturers or medium-sized manufacturers who are the customers. They will sign long-term 10-year power purchase agreements to buy electricity from the county. So Amber and Compass put the money up front. Money gets flowed back to the projects, they will develop those projects to pay back both Amber and the county. So the county will get one of the things that county said, the council asked us to do is, hey, we're putting money up front, make sure we're getting money paid back. So the county will be getting paid back through both the stream of dollars through those power purchase agreements, the per kilowatt hour fees that companies pay, plus there will be some upfront money once a project is approved by council. So those individual deals, or I guess, or those individual projects will come back to council for, and the economics for every individual project we'll ask you to sign off on before it moves forward. And it'll include both the DEI, the labor, and kind of all these standards, the amount of renewables, things like that. So those projects will come individually to council. And then, one of the things we was concerned about was risk, right? So we're trying to de-risk this as much as possible for the county. So Compass has as an operator, has its own set of insurance requirements that the county has set, but also each one of those projects will have its own set of insurance requirements. So if, weirdly something happens and it goes wrong and there's some damage, then the projects are responsible for paying the damages associated with any of those risks. So each time we bring one of those projects, those insurance requirements will be built in those contracts. This is just an example. We applied last year to the Department of Energy for it's called a GRIP grant. This is like an example of a project in Euclid. So it has a number of, the yellow dots are a number of kind of industrial customers that we would start off with. The dotted lines are distribution lines, so those would be underground. will take power from a transmission, from a substation, which is that kind of funny little circle on the left-hand side there. So you're taking power off the transmission grid to the substation, taking that power of the substation to the distribution network to the customers. So we've got a number of individual companies that are already interested in being part of the microgrid. But we also have a number of community partners that are interested as well. So if you go up East 222nd, there's Euclid City Hall, the fire department, the police department, the high school, the library. There's a wastewater treatment facility up at the end that we'd love to figure out how to get them in as well. So there's, as we kind of build this, there'll be some mixing and matching of customers, at least initially in load, that will factor into these projects. So just lastly, just a couple things we want to, Senator Brown has been really helpful to us. So we've got 2 earmarks now from Senator Brown, one for the Arizona area. So we've got 3 projects. One is Euclid, one is Brooklyn, and one is out by the airport, the Arizona area. So Senator Brown has given us $300,000 for the Arizona project to help do initial design work and kind of build out and customer kind of calling, figuring out who's got the biggest load, who we want to start talking to first. And then the same thing in Euclid and Brooklyn, he's given us $1.5 million. We have to have a 50% match on that, just so you know, but Amber and Compass will be paying for that match. So that's one of the things that they'll be covering. Assuming that everything goes okay and you pass this, the council passes this, then we would start engineering. So we've done some initial preliminary engineering, but more detailed engineering would start, especially in Euclid and Brooklyn, in January. We'll come back to you as we get these things more designed and more kind of fleshed out a little bit. We'll come back to council for approval on those individual projects. We're also going to need, so the structure, and we don't have a real structure yet. So we'd kind of like to develop maybe an advisory board for the utility. We want to figure out, what are components of any microgrid project? Do we want a minimum renewable amount? Do we want a minimum resiliency amount, things like that. So I think we're going to come back, we're going to make suggestions to council around kind of qualitative factors that I think we want the utility to engage in. So we'll be doing that sometime hopefully in spring, summer. And then we just have a number of agreements that we're going to have to, we just have to work through. There's interconnection agreements with the larger transmission grid, PJM, so we have to kind of figure things out like that. We're going to be buying wholesale power off the grid. Who are going to be buying that from? What's the green component of that? So those are things that we still have to work through. But the goal is to have construction start in 2025, and hopefully electrons are flowing by 2026, 2027. So with that, I'd also like to just introduce Rick Bolton from Compass Energy Platform. Rick is from Los Angeles. He flew in last night. He's flying back out today to
I
come
know.
back.
Okay. Hi, good to see you.
I just wanted to say a couple words.
Yep.
Yeah, hi everybody. Good to see you. Thanks for considering the contract and for having me here today. The electric grid is not in good shape in the United States, and a lot of us have been working for a long time to fix it. I myself have been in this business for about 12 years. Because the grid is not in good shape, citizens are unprotected as the weather changes. Our economic growth is being hurt, and we're leaving ourselves open to cyber attacks. It's not a good situation. Microgrids are designed to fix all of those problems. That's why the form is becoming so important and is catching on, and the DOE is really invested in it now. It provides a secure environment. It increases the amount of sustainable energy in the world, and it also provides resilience for communities. So the problem with microgrids is not the technology, it's the ability to scale them up. And part of that is because there's not been an opportunity like the opportunity that the county has created in this new utility. Mike is humble and won't say this, but this is the first microgrid utility in the United States. It is a groundbreaking exercise and has everyone's attention. Typically, and I can tell you as a microgrid developer, every microgrid comes to the point where you're having usually not very productive conversations with the local distribution utility about how to accommodate the microgrid. And in this circumstance, we will be the utility, which is kind of an amazing thing. So, so I'm very excited. My company and my partners are very excited, and we really want to help Cuyahoga get control of its energy future. I mean, you know, the other side of the coin here is that the kind of energy that's produced in microgrids is really, really desirable. It's clean energy, it's renewable energy, it's very attractive to a lot of emerging businesses. Data centers, of course, but there are a lot of high-tech, complex mechanical processes that need this sort of electricity. And so along with sort of solidifying the grid in the county, this will be this will drive economic growth. This will attract people to the county, for sure. So we're just really excited to be here and happy to be a part of this.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here, and the work both of you have done is amazing. This is a heavy lift, big lift, but
Valerie Katz, by the way, has been amazing,
I can't
too.
see her. Val,
She's been amazing, and they've been really great in helping us get this far. So.
so questions from committee first. Okay,
I think my first question goes to Director Foley. So just a curiosity, when the roofs, because they're on some major buildings that the county serves, so when the roof needs maintenance, I know pretty much all of them have new roofs at the time, are the solar panels removed for this task?
Yeah, so usually when you put solar on roofs, you want to make sure the roof has at least a 10-year lifespan left on it, something like that. So, but if there's leakage or if there's problems, then yeah, you'll have to take them down. They may be offline for a week or two. You fix the roof and then you put them back up.
So if it's so say 10 years from now, we'd have to remove all the solar panels, relay the roof if it needs that at that time, and then
It'll depend on the building. So all the 4 buildings that we currently have are the roof schedules are they're pretty far out there. In fact, Harvard Road is relatively a new roof. So I think we've got much longer than 10 years. But if in some circumstances where we need to take them down, then we'll we'll just have to factor that in. So.
okay, just wanted to know, curiosity. Thank you.
And when we do solar, we actually look at that and often include the roof costs in the cost of the project.
Councilman Tron.
Only because I'm fairly familiar with the John Wayne Airport, because I fly there often. What does a microgrid look like? Are you doing the entire airport, or just a subset within?
Well, this is Eric, my partner, that's done the engineering for this, and yeah, it's the entire airport. It's got a secure energy environment. It has natural gas. It has solar. It has battery storage. Yeah, in the event of an outage, that airport will continue to run. Yeah.
Okay, so that we're not up and operational at this point.
I don't think it's operational yet. I think it's under construction right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would seem to me that would open up that as a place that people would want to fly their aircraft to, as opposed to LAX, which I hate flying to anyway. But
Yeah, most of us hate flying to LAX.
it's an experience in and of itself.
That's a unifying factor.
Well, John Wayne Airport is a fun airport. It's a cute little airport.
Yeah, but LAX is hell.
Well, I know that. Yeah. It's
I'll be there later tonight, so yeah.
you'll go
Christmas.
pray be there on your way to
you
hell.
know.
I enjoyed our conversation that we had a couple days ago, or what, a week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. It was. I noticed you did not reference that conversation though in any of your comments on the Director Foley. Any reason why? Is it because I thought that there was as I'm spending more and more time looking at where the manufacturing infrastructure is just as fractured as what you were talking about as far as the electrical grid. We need to make sure that these are in partnership out there, because just what happened 2 hours ago in Buffalo is an indication of scary things that are out there potentially going to happen all over this country. And so what you can do to help identify how the microgrid could be a tool to use in our national defense, that would be a phenomenal thing to be pointing out, because that's what got my attention when we were talking about this, because I can tell you the cybersecurity stuff, just since that time, I've had a number of communications of projects that are coming out of DC, the DOD, on cybersecurity. So that's what got got me more excited about this whole thing is the cyber aspect of it. Because I think there were two sites within Euclid that were not identified. They were blocked out. Is there a reason why we didn't know those names?
Yeah, they haven't given us permission to use their names yet. So.
Okay, but I can only assume based on where they were on the map. I have a feeling as to what those sites are, and they might have a orientation to a defense component in and of themselves. So that might be a reason why that we don't want to.
Thinking of a name.
No, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to play 20 questions with you because we don't want to put it on the record. So from that standpoint, so I appreciate
But
that.
Councilman, you're right. I mean, the defense aspect of this is really important, right? So, and I didn't put it in the slides 'cause I thought you'd ask questions about it. So
You knew I would ask questions. You didn't even have to think about it. We had a great conversation the other day, and of course, the Aerozone is a combination between interstellar flight and defense. Those two are going to get blended pretty closely together. And as a matter of fact, obviously, we've even created a brand-new Department of Defense in the fact that we've created Space Force, which I have a feeling that not my kids, or my kids might be engaged in that whole concept. So thank you very much. It was very interesting, and I am looking forward to these three test projects to see how they come out. But please keep an idea of looking towards defense out there as where it is. I mean, who knows? I have no idea what took place up there in Buffalo today, but what its ramifications are. Yeah, yeah, they blew up a big chunk of the Rainbow Bridge. Looks like or sounds like. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Miller?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And my question is, how many microgrids are there already in operation around the country? And are we in the United States ahead, even with or behind the curve compared to the rest of the world?
Well, that is a really hard question. I'll tell you why. People consider microgrids, many people even call them nanogrids, which is a term I've never quite bought into, but single building protection, there are thousands. Projects at the scale that we're talking about, where there are multiple users in a larger geographical area, very, very few. Philadelphia Navy Yard, they're mostly campuses that serve multiple behind the meter, all on one piece of property, some universities. What we're proposing to do has not been done yet. Yeah.
Has it been done in other countries?
It has been done in other countries, but it's not been done. It's not been done in the United States, mostly because of utility law.
Okay. Thank you very much. Best wishes for success. We appreciate your involvement.
Thank you. I have a question just to conclude in a few. You mentioned a grant, Director Foley. Can you describe the status of that and what
We've
we're doing?
applied for, there's a thing called a GRIP grant, a DOE proposal. It's got about $5 billion in it, and we're under the tier that we could apply for. We applied last year for Euclid and Brooklyn last spring. We just got word about 3 weeks ago, we did not get that award. But it's opened up again and now for a second round. So they've got $5 billion. They gave out $1.5 billion. There's over 100 applications. They only funded 8 projects. So it was tough to win. So, but we're looking at it again. We have got, as I said, we've got earmarks from Senator Brown for $1.5 million. There's a BRIC grant, BRIC, that we've just getting in the queue for with the state of Ohio. So we're going to ask for $5 million to do that. That line on East 222nd to help with the community load in Euclid. And then there's a couple other grants that just came out over the last couple of weeks where we may be able to, the microgrid component fits into what EPA is giving out and another DOE grant is giving out. So we're looking at those right now.
And these applications, and when you look to develop these projects, are you looking at equity and parity in those neighborhoods?
Yeah, so, Councilwoman, so one is the grants require it, right? But it's also, we want to do that. So especially with the GRIP grant, there's a Justice 40 component. So 40% of the funds have to be spent in Justice 40 census tracts. So both Euclid and Brooklyn were all within Justice 40 census tracts. We're looking at the next round of the GRIP grant, maybe incorporating the airport into this proposal as well, because we think the airport is kind of sexy and maybe help it rise to the top. So we're trying to figure out if is there a Justice 40 component in and around the airport, and there are some census tracts that fit. So if that's the case, then like there's a CMHA estate that maybe we run a distribution line and power the CMHA estate, as well as the kind of the work around the airport.
The tracks are census tracts for underdeveloped, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a federal kind of designation for census tracts that have 40, that are 40%, no, I'm sorry. It's a census tract designation where there's high DEI or high equity, poverty, and kind of indicators. So they're trying to put federal money into census tracts where there's not been a lot of resources given in the past, basically. So it's a federal designation.
Chair, I don't understand how the airport works, given that a lot of the poverty that was out there, we cleared out when we did the sound mitigation. And so there aren't a lot of high poverty.
Excuse me, Ms. Stevens, is your microphone on?
Yes, but it wasn't as close to me as it could have been. Thank you. Since we did removal with the sound mitigation around the airport, I'm concerned that the low and moderate income or being percentages of area median income won't happen out there.
Actually, we looked at the map today because we were thinking about this, and the census tracts all around the airport, except for ones in Fairview Park and maybe one census tract in Cleveland, are all in the Justice 40 census tract
Okay.
map.
Surprising.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to make sure that when this does succeed, we can expand it into neighborhoods who could also, benefit from their energy not being, turned off for long periods of time. So that's a longer-term goal. This is, we're really on the frontier to make this happen with our 3 sites. So thank you for coming and flying here. And if there's no more questions, Jack Sharon?
Yeah, I know you're chasing grant dollars wherever they might show up, but are there grant dollars on some of these other areas other than these census tracts? Because I can only think that you would be a step ahead on some of the economic tracks that would not necessarily be the DEI piece. It might be a defense oriented, in which case money is pretty fungible. And so if that would get you a start, that gets you the seed that then can ripple into other things. I can't speak for our chairwoman, but I can only assume that we would write support letters that would be behind the projects, that would be beyond just yourself, some third-party people from the communities to which these are located. So obviously Euclid is in Councilwoman Simon's district. Those kind of letters, I've always thought, work very well in grant applications.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to write letters. And just want to reiterate 1 second of history that, we originally wanted this in a downtown district and we couldn't do it and get through the Cleveland red tape, basically. So I want to give you credit, Director Foley, for pursuing this despite that impediment. We really were hoping to help with economic development in that downtown Cleveland area, but we couldn't do it. So this is perseverance, and I really am grateful that you continue to pursue it. And I think we're going to be really impressed with this outcome, especially with the partnership and this contract. So thank you for everything. So do I have a motion to?
Madam Chair, you have a motion to move this forward to the full council.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so this will be going forward with, without suspension. Or do we?
3 readings is fine.
Yes, I thought so. Okay, thanks so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Okay, next item, 2023-0327.
Resolution number 2023-0327, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for the Comprehensive Case Management Employment Program, Employment, Education, and Training Services for Young Adults.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Cuyahoga Jobs and Family Services. Again, this is an amendment to a master contract for our Summer Youth Employment Program. This program seeks to provide youth with comprehensive, high-quality services that will help them escape poverty by making progress on career pathways to a sustainable employment, including attaining and retaining paid employment at good wages, meaningful work experiences, attainment of credentials for in-demand occupations, educational advancement, and the development of transferable soft skills, critical thinking, and self-advocacy. This is our last extension of this contract. We will be issuing a new RFP early next year for services to begin later in 2024. We have Paul Bounds from the Department of Jobs and Family Services who oversees this program to answer any program-related questions, and I believe we have representatives from both of the two agencies here as well.
Okay. Do you want to bring them up just so we can see who's here? We have YOU and Verge again. Hello.
Hi, Eric Dellenbeck from Youth Opportunities Unlimited.
Good afternoon, Sean Woods from Verge.
Hi, how are you doing? So I thought Verge, have you relatively new to this, in and out?
It seems like it. We actually did it in 2009 to 2011. We were enlisted to do 1,200 in 2009, another 1,000 in 2010. And then after that, we kind of stepped away. I think they went in a different direction. And so we're able to get back involved this year. Well, in 2020. 2021.
And so how are things going post-COVID from both participants?
Interesting times. I think it was, we assumed that because we did so many in 2009 and 10, in those 2 years, it was probably 2,100 young people between 18 and 24 came through the program, that we should be able to get 200 easily in these summers. And we've struggled with the recruitment. Part of it is the gig economy. DoorDash, Amazon, they're competing for the same population of young people. And the wages that we're offering are approximately the same, $15 an hour. But there's another aspect. The actual funding source is a little different than it was in previous years. So it's strictly TANF, which means that if I were to recruit a young person and they lived in a tough neighborhood, had no income, and was moving around couch to couch or with friends living, they met all the criteria, which would be for eligibility, would be age eligibility, income, and barrier. I can get all three of those verified, age, income, and barrier, but I wouldn't be able to put them into the program if they didn't have a child or they didn't live in a household with a minor child. And that significantly has affected recruitment.
Thank you for that insight.
On behalf of YOU, we focus solely in the summer jobs program on 14 to 19-year-olds who are in high school. And so in 2023, we were able to serve 1,848 overall, and 1,374 were funded in total or part by this contract with the county. And that was 470 more than 22 and 645 more than 21. So we have seen a rebound in numbers, but it's a little different for us because the youth we're serving are the youth in the household. So as long as family members show up to fill out the forms, it's a little easier for eligibility determination for us. So we have seen, thankfully, the numbers of young people show up, and then also the employers show up who want to work with our young people.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No. All right, I'm a little concerned about the TANF restrictions, so precluding further recruitment. I just want to say that. And I'll follow up later. I mean, we can't do anything today except make a motion to move this out of this committee. And I don't think we need suspension, right? Because it's the effective date is moved to 1/1/24.
Yeah, so we've submitted this contract with the expectation that the December 5th reading would be the third reading.
Okay, so.
Yeah, we don't need to.
We don't. Okay, so do I have a motion to move this out of the full, to this committee and to full council? First by Conwell, second by Stevens, all in favor? Aye. Aye, any opposed? Okay, thank you so much, and have a good Thanksgiving, and we'll follow up on that restriction. Thanks. Okay, next item.
Resolution number 2023-0328, authorizing amendments to contracts with various providers for the Ohio Works First program.
Good afternoon again. Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Cuyahoga Jobs and Family Services. Again, another amendment to a master contract for the Ohio Works First program. The purpose of the OWF program is to assist clients in attaining success by addressing barriers that may hinder clients from achieving self-sufficiency. The approach to services should be holistic, seeking to focus on addressing a broad range of needs at the individual and household level, including but not limited to full family assessment, job readiness, job training, and education, and referral to social supports. We are exercising the first option year of this contract. We do have, again, Paul Bounds here from the Division of Jobs and Family Services, who can answer specific program-related questions, and also representatives from Maximus and from the centers and El Barrio.
I don't have any questions. Do you just want to identify who's here?
I believe we have Daryl Hill here from Maximus, Melissa Bocianello from the centers, and Alejandra Amayo from the El Barrio.
Okay. It's okay, I just wanted to see who you were. You came down here, should be identified and recognized. If I don't have questions, this will also be third reading, right?
Correct.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Next item.
Resolution number 2023-0338, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for school community-based Closing the Achievement Gap services.
Aye.
Good afternoon, Robin Martin, representing Family and Children First Council. This is the amendment for the third year of the Closing the Achievement Gap contract. We released an RFP in 2021, and we received 7 responses, and we were able to fund services in 9 buildings. One of the schools submitted for 3 buildings. This program addresses children who are having academic issues. They've missed at least 36 days of school, or they've had 5 out-of-school suspensions. They've been held back a year, and or they're failing at least 2 of their core classes. Through this program, they receive credit retention services, tutoring. They are given exposure trips to give them opportunities to see what can come beyond high school. In some of the buildings, they also have an opportunity to participate in some trade programs in the event that they're not interested in going to college. But what we're trying to do is get them on track so that they graduate on time. And we are looking to release the new RFP in 2024 during this year, so that we will be ready for a new 3-year cycle coming up in 2025.
Any questions? So you're sending out the RFP for the management of the program, administration?
To see if other districts are interested, if these districts are coming back. But it's time for us to release the new RFP during this amendment cycle.
Great.
And we also should have our evaluation. It'll be coming out in February.
Who's doing that?
Case Western
Case.
Reserve University.
Yep.
Yes.
And when did you say?
It should be done in February.
Okay.
We were able to institute a new database where we're able to track the young people. And the person who ran the program in our office left to go back to school. And the replacement that we hired is actually a former linkage coordinator. So she's been able to work with the schools on various issues. So it's gone really well.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to move this to the full council meeting for?
Moved.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, no
Thank you.
opposed. Thank
And
you.
Kathy's going to come up to do the ESC.
Okay. Next item.
Resolution number 2023, excuse me, 0339, authorizing a contract with the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio in the amount not to exceed $654,000 for programming and fiscal agent services for the Families in School Together FAST program.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi,
Kathy.
good afternoon. Kathleen Stewart from Family and Children First Council. This contract is our parent engagement program that we work with families throughout. It's 2 times a year. It's called 2 sessions. The team members are comprised of 6 different team members, and they work with the families and the children. We generally target 3rd graders. We are in 14 schools throughout Cuyahoga County, which is Parma, Cleveland Heights, and Cleveland. We have, it's a certified evidence-based program verified by SAMHSA. So we have trainers that go and check on the program as it runs at least 3 times throughout those sessions. We have an average of 200 participants per session each year. We chose to have the ESC be our fiscal agent originally through a RFP in 2016, I believe. And then because they were the only one who responded to the contract, we just did an exemption from them for the next years. They are able to pay their team members and the trainers in a quicker fashion than they would be able to throughout Cuyahoga County.
Questions?
One to the chair, her last name again, Kathleen's last name.
Stewart, Stewart.
A successful program, right?
Very successful
Very.
program, yes.
Yep.
We actually just had our trainers this previous July, and it went very, very well. There was some drift from the program because of COVID, because they were doing a program virtually. So we, our focus is now to get back to standards. We were the #1 site in the country several years ago, so we'd like to get back to that standing to have the sessions run more successfully. And just, again, because of COVID and doing it virtually, it's very hard to keep the parents engaged, keep the children engaged, and just keep everybody coming to the program. So we look forward to getting back to our standing.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Any questions? Okay. Oh, Councilman Miller, so sorry.
So just a comment that I served as a time as the chairperson of the Great Lakes Regional Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Council, and besides the other things that it does, this program was very highly rated as an effective program for prevention of child abuse and neglect, because it helps foster better communication between the parents and their children, and more involvement and more resiliency.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second. We're going to move it out of the committee into the full council for second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much,
Thank
Stuart.
you. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Okay, next item.
Resolution number 2023-0340, authorizing an amendment to agreement number 1876 with Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County for fiscal agent and program administration services for the Early Childhood Mental Health Program.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Shauna Rorman, Office of Early Childhood and Best in Children. Thank you for having us here today. We are requesting a 1-year amendment to our contract with the Adams Board for the Early Childhood Mental Health System. This contract represents a collaborative effort between our office and the Adams Board for the provision of these services through selected Cuyahoga County behavioral health agencies, which are then subcontracted by the Adams Board. Early childhood mental health services encompass a continuum of approaches to working with young children and their families, including the promotion of healthy social and emotional development, the prevention and early intervention of mental health difficulties, and treatment of mental health conditions among very young children in the context of their families. At the beginning of the current contract in 2022, we made an important addition to this system with the creation of an emergency response therapist who dedicates time committed to serving emergency ECMH referrals. This position will continue with the amendment. The emergency response therapist responds to emergency trauma referrals within 24 to 48 hours so that our most vulnerable children are not on a waiting list or falling through the cracks. The emergency response therapist works closely with our ECMH system referral coordinator. Her name is Shauna Dewey. She works in my office. She plays an essential role in this system. She serves as the central intake for the referrals, most of which come from DCFS, but they also come from hospitals, medical systems, school districts, frontline services, Help Me Grow, parents and caregivers themselves. She handles referrals for approximately 50 families per month, assessing their needs for early childhood mental health services, referring to emergency response when warranted, and also connecting families to many, many community resources to help support them during a difficult time, especially if they're on a wait list, helping them sort of manage before they're able to access those services. Outcomes for this contract are that children will show progress in their social emotional development and that the emergency cases are responded to in a timely fashion, and we see good outcomes for both of those metrics. We are opting to extend this for 1 year rather than submitting a new 2-year contract as we typically do, because we are planning to shift fiscal and administrative oversight of this system to my office starting January of 2025. Adams has committed continued co-funding of the program, and Invest in Children will handle contracts with agencies, invoicing, reporting. We'll be working closely with Adams and our ECMH agency partners next year to make sure that this shift is as smooth as possible and does not disrupt services.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, through the chair, I just want to ask the director, so why the shift? What is the purpose? Is that council
Unfortunately-
initiated or Adams Board initiated?
Adams Board initiated. My understanding is that they are changing the way that they procure their services and did not want to continue with an RFP process. And so we agreed to basically swap roles. And we have a very strong, several people in our office. Alyssa Swiatek is here today, a former ECMH therapist herself, Shauna Dewey, as I mentioned, a really strong team to be able to handle this moving forward.
So is this, to the chair, to the director, is this a change in, is this additional money monies that Adams Board receives?
They do not receive any,
Anything?
they're in kind. Their services
Okay.
are in kind.
Good.
I'm good.
Mark?
I'm good.
Okay.
We can have conversations sideline after Thanksgiving.
As long as you have the capacity to assume that role, then
That's
This is-
something I think that we look into next year.
we're going to have to look at that, correct? Since we're shifting that. Okay. Thank you. Councilman?
So, Madam Chair, I had a recent meeting with the director of the Adams Board on a number of topics, and this came up, and the Adams Board director described it very much in the same way that you just described it, that they're no longer going to use this procurement model, and so for that reason, they preferred that the county take over the procurement of these services.
So we'll follow up with what you're going to need.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, do I have a motion? Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to make a motion to move this matter to the full council meeting with a recommendation of passage.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, this goes forward. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Resolution number 2023-0341, authorizing an amendment to contract number 3266 with Child Care Resource Center of Cuyahoga County, doing business as Starting Point for the Special Needs Child Care Program.
Okay.
Thank you. I have with me today Nancy Mendez, who is the CEO and president of Starting Point. We are requesting another one-year amendment to this contract as well for Starting Point to serve as the lead agency for what was called Special Needs Childcare and has been recently renamed the Prevention and Inclusion Program. This program is designed to support childcare providers in the county who are caring for young children with identified disabilities, challenging behaviors, and/or medical needs. Starting Point subcontracts with 8 agencies to provide training, technical assistance, and special equipment to childcare professionals, as well as resources for families in need of specialized childcare. Through these services, the overarching goal of the program is to support childcare providers in their work to serve all children and to maintain stable placement of children in their childcare center for as many children as possible. And because we know Black and brown children, and specifically boys, are more likely to be identified as having quote-unquote challenging behaviors and more likely to be expelled, this program is also a facet of our work to achieve equity in access to services. So we're requesting to extend this contract for 1 year rather than a 2-year because this program is sort of a sister program to ECMH. Both programs provide early childhood mental health services, and they differ primarily in the location of those services. In the last contract, it's primarily in the home. In this program, it's delivered in the classroom. Given the changes that are going to be happening with the administration of ECMH, we chose to amend this contract with the same timeline as that one to ensure that our whole system of early childhood mental health services and prevention services is coordinated and streamlined.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions? Okay. Make a motion. I'll make a motion this matter be moved out of committee to the next full council meeting with a recommendation of passage.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much. Next.
Resolution number 2023-0342, authorizing a contract with Child Care Resource Center of Cuyahoga County doing business as Starting Point in the amount not to exceed $1,700,816.02 for implementation and management of the Child Care Access and Quality Expansion Program.
So the funding in this contract supports Starting Point's work as the state designated resource and referral agency in Cuyahoga County, as well as their role in delivering professional development to child care providers across the county. That includes managing scholarships for early childhood professionals, supporting the expansion of a high-quality early care and education system, and administering the Billy Osborne Fears Child Care Scholarship. Just a little bit of context on this work. Since the last time we presented a contract for these services in 2021, the childcare industry has faced a number of challenges stemming from the pandemic. So low enrollment coming out of the pandemic was one factor that contributed to the hardships the sites have faced. In the early days, it was a lot about families being uncertain about the safety of their children in group settings. And we saw that childcare centers had to close due to those economic pressures. We also saw the job market change rapidly during the pandemic, where work in retail was at a premium, and many childcare providers left the field to work for higher wages in places like Target and Amazon. Childcare centers were then faced with the decision to raise their tuition in order to pay teachers a competitive wage, which then made childcare even less affordable for families. The current average cost of childcare for a young child in a center-based program in Cuyahoga County is about $900 per month. Recruitment and retention challenges have also led to less capacity or fewer seats in our system because centers are not able to open all of their classrooms without the staff to stay in ratio. Total childcare capacity is about 13% lower today than it was pre-pandemic. In the face of these challenges, the county's investments have helped keep our system resilient when compared to other communities in Ohio. So through Starting Point's work under this contract, Cuyahoga County continues to lead the way among the big 3 counties in Ohio when it comes to the percentage of centers that are rated high quality in our Step Up to Quality system. Communities across the state saw a greater decline in their childcare capacity stemming from the pandemic. And while capacity has declined, one achievement is that the capacity in high-quality sites, the number of high-quality seats, has actually increased about 4%. So that is due in very large part to the investments that we make through the county, and so continued investment will help us build our system back up again.
Thank you. Questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to move this to the next full council meeting?
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item.
And just to clarify, was this for suspension or just second reading?
No suspension.
Thank you. Resolution number 2023-0343, authorizing a contract with Child Care Resource Center of Cuyahoga County, doing business as Starting Point, in the amount not to exceed $2,433,569.42 for management and administration of the Family Child Care Home Professional Development System.
So this is a continuation of the family child care system that was established around 23 years ago to improve the quantity and quality of family child care in our county. It is similar to the previous contract in that it supports professional development, expansion, quality improvement in the family child care home system. Invest in Children has always recognized the family child care as an important provider component to our mixed child care delivery system. It offers a unique opportunity for some children who might thrive better in a smaller setting. Family child care homes can accommodate up to 6 or up to 12, whereas in centers there's up to 20 or more children in a classroom. During the pandemic, and especially during the months when childcare was closed, family child care providers continued to operate and served as the backbone of our system, and this continues to hold true. They are in many ways, the stability of our system. I want to also highlight something that's happening at the state level related to what we see with family child care here. Over the last year, we have faced some headwinds at the state level when it comes to step up to quality. You might remember last time, or maybe not, last time we presented this contract, we were working toward a deadline where all providers who wanted to accept publicly funded childcare or childcare subsidies had to be highly rated and step up to quality by 2025. That requirement was removed by the legislature. And then additionally, at the end of last year, family childcare homes were made completely exempt from step up to quality. So for many years, and really I think that we led the way here in the county to professionalize family childcare homes and to get them into that system because they were not always a part of that system. And so now this feels really like a step back, but because the county invests in family child care here in a way that doesn't happen really anywhere else in the state, we have been able to create a culture of quality where family child care really appreciates a high quality system. And so we have highest percentages of high quality among family child care as well in Cuyahoga County compared to Franklin or Hamilton. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, to the chair, to Director Rorman. So with that state call like that, and like you stated, we put in our own funding for the children's outcome. Can we just still continue our quality of care without them stepping in and saying, you know, we can't do that? That would be my fear, that they put some halt on it just because we want the high quality for our kids.
I'll invite Nancy to come up, and while she's coming up through the chair, it's not a ban. Okay. So they can continue. What I'm less sure of is what funding continues to be there if they're exempted at the state level. So our funding, I think, is very important in that regard to maintain the quality of the system. It feels a little bit like they're kind of chipping away. There's also an exemption that happened on the center-based side that's a little convoluted. I don't really want to go into it. I could tell you more. So it's not a ban yet. It's not a dismantling of the system, but it feels like they're chipping away at it.
Sure. Nancy Mendez, CEO of Starting Point. Thank you for your consideration. To the question about family child care homes, I think it because of the decades of the investment from Cuyahoga County, we built a very strong system. So What the state decided was that it was not mandatory, that it was optional for family child care homes to be part of Step Up. And in Cuyahoga County, overwhelmingly, our family child care homes have said they wanted to continue to be part of Step Up to Quality. We had a fantastic event where we celebrated a number of our family child care homes where there were over 100 of our child care homes present. And they overwhelmingly, again, said, we take pride in the fact that we provide the same quality in our homes than is provided in the centers. So it's their voices that I think that in the end are going to push back to the state and say, no, it is just as important that we provide the quality and the foundation to the children in our homes. Again, just like the centers, we're just as good.
The chair, I'm just a little concerned and, and worried that we should be able to push back on that. We shouldn't have some homes step up to quality and some homes not. I mean, the hoops that they made these family home providers go through to, and God bless her, Billy was still alive then, to get it where it is today and to just say willy-nilly. So I'm just concerned if, I know we don't have authority down there, but on our end, if we could just mandate, you still need to be step up to quality if you're here in Cuyahoga County.
Yeah, thank you for keeping us apprised of this deterioration. We'll do what we can up here. Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to move this matter to the next full council meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Okay. Lastly, Spark.
Resolution number 2023-0344, authorizing a contract with Family Connections of Northeast Ohio in the amount not to exceed $1,028,000 for program administration and direct services for the supporting partnerships to assure Ready Kids Spark program.
Spark is a countywide early literacy program for 3- and 4-year-olds with a home visitation model. Spark Home visitors, who are called parent partners, are trained specialists who visit each child and their parent once per month to deliver early learning activities aimed at preparing children and their parents for kindergarten. The parent partner works with both the child and the parent or the caregiver in the visit, modeling teaching behavior for the parent or caregiver to strengthen their skills as the child's first and best teacher. Visits include educational supplies and books, which are free to families, developmental assessments and screenings, linkages to community resources, and support for the kindergarten transition. I have with me today Beth Darmstadter, who is the Executive Director of Family Connections, and Trina Saxon, who is the Director of Spark. This is a program near and dear to my heart. The parent partners, the level of their work, and this is true for home visitors across our system, but they are so committed to their families. They believe in this program so strongly and think that everybody should get Spark. So I just can't say enough good things about it. Over the last several years, Spark has had program evaluations consistently showing positive impact of the program. Children who are enrolled in this program for at least 8 months in the year before kindergarten make statistically significant gains in pre-numeracy, pre-literacy. Parents improve their teaching skills. When Spark kids get to kindergarten, they have higher rates of kindergarten readiness. We're working with the Poverty Center at Case Western to do a more rigorous evaluation to really be able to say Spark leads to higher rates of kindergarten readiness with a causal association there. Before I turn it over to you for questions, I want to highlight an achievement of the Spark Ohio program this year. They've been named a best practice in the MCH Innovations database. This database is part of the Innovation Hub of the Association of Maternal and Child Health Programs, which serves as a national resource partner and advocate for state public health leaders and others working to improve maternal and child public health systems. So this database catalogs what's working in the field. Best practice designations are awarded to programs that are effective, are grounded in practice-based evidence, meaningfully embrace collaboration, and have been successfully replicated with positive outcomes. So I'll leave it there.
To the chair, to Director Rorman. So I ran across Cleveland Reeds the other day, and we've heard from Dolly Parton. So are these similar programs? How does Spark stand out from them?
I'm going to invite Trina up here because these, I'm sure, are all her partners, but she could speak to it more eloquently than me.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. You spoke of the Imagination Library program. That's Dolly Parton. What they do is send out books to parents monthly. The Spark program is different because we have parent partners to go visit the families on a monthly basis. So the Imagination Library just sends books. We do.
You read the Imagination Library books, okay, that are sent to the house, okay.
Yes, they send books to the house, and we actually do a curriculum that's set on the state of Ohio's early content standards with parent and child.
I also ran into Cleveland Reads, and they seem like they're, this past weekend, they provide the books, but they also do kind of like the reading like you guys. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Cleveland Reads. They don't have a curriculum that's set on the state of Ohio's early content standards, and they don't have a home visiting model.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Good to know. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Miller?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How many children are we expecting to serve during the next 2 years with this program?
The next 2 years, 620. If I could say, just to go further, right now we are in our cohort that we're working with our 3 and 4-year-olds who were what I call our COVID babies. Those were the 3 years that these children were first born. And we're seeing a lot of children now with developmental delays because of COVID, mainly speech delays. And I think that is because of mask wearing. And also we're seeing a lot of children with autism now. So now more than ever, the Spark program is important.
Madam Chair, I know that in the past, we've gotten a good number of grants from various foundations and nonprofit organizations to help pay for Spark. Are we still receiving some of those grants, or is this funding here out of the levy fund totally funding the program at this time?
No, we still receive other grant funding for the Spark program. The hope is for us to service more children. So yes, we receive other grant funding.
And so is the 650 number that you just gave me just the number of children that are funded with these dollars, or is it the total amount for the county Spark program?
It's the total amount.
And do you know what the total dollar amount is for when you include this money plus all the grants?
I do not, but we can provide that for you at a later date.
That would be appreciated. Okay. Thanks very much. I strongly support the program.
Thank you. I just have a comment about this program, Spark, that is so successful and does more than send the books. And I just want to alert this committee that there was an allocation in the budget for one vendor to send books, Dolly Parton, and I'm going to ask for an amendment to the budget that this go into Invest in Children, 0 to 5-year-old for kids, and that there's an RFP instead of sending money directly to one vendor, you know.
Well, I'm opposed to that. I think before we decide to amend something, because we have a regular amount we're giving to them. We need to do more to get kids reading. And deciding that you want to make Dolly Parton compete with Invest this program, they don't have to compete. We can fund both of them.
Well, we're not funding both of them, and it should be in a 0 to 5-year-old category. And it was actually a little bit surprising to me that this would automatically go to one vendor, and I wasn't going to disrupt the budget meeting. But that doesn't mean that Dolly Parton can't apply, because what we're doing, just like CTAG, over the years, we never sent that out for an RFP, and it should have been. And now we're just unilaterally giving money to one vendor, which doesn't do, and it can't hurt to go with an RFP. And I just want to just put that out there. At least it should be in this department and looked at instead of just singularly giving to one vendor, because as we hear, there's other ones out there that Councilwoman Conwell brought up. And what we're doing appears to be favoring one vendor. And it doesn't mean that, they can't be funded. It just means that we're not doing what we normally do with this type of programming.
Can I just say that the Imagination Library and Spark are very great partners for one another, even now. We help them recruit to get children into their program, and they help us recruit to get children into our program. So we are partners with one another at this point in time.
Right.
Chair.
Yeah, we should be looking at this in that light instead of just, going out because somebody is coming here asking for money. We need to see this holistically and how it fits into an existing program and a partnership. I just think it's important to look at it that way. And, so go ahead, Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, I just want to remind you that, I think this program is more impactful for the kids served, but it's 650 kids. The Dolly Parton program is $25 per participant, and they're aiming to cover the whole universe of young children in Cuyahoga County. No other program has the capability to do that. So I think putting $100,000 into the Dolly Parton program is well worth it, and is going to be helpful to Cuyahoga County's future.
Well, the question about the slots, and I'm not taking away from Dolly Parton, like we gave a lot of ARPA money, supported Councilwoman Stevens, a lot of money to them already. And it's one of the only organizations now that's coming back to be embedded in a budget. And there are other organizations that came to me to get funding. And, I said, we have to focus on our, basic needs of the county instead of bringing vendors in and taking away from core programming, and I didn't even entertain any other vendors coming in. So it was surprising that did come through after talking to the chair about it. So the question is, the slots that you described as being filled, if you had additional funding, would those slots be able to be filled, considering your current employment level?
Yes.
So if you had additional funding, you could actually fill more slots to do this.
Yeah, we could actually hire more parent partners to do this.
Right.
To hire more parent partners. But before, if I could, I just want this council to consider the quality of work that goes into the Spark program versus other programs where, and I'm not knocking any other program, but there's travel time, there's home visiting, there's a lot that goes into this program. We're not just helping children be kindergarten ready. These families have other situations that are going on before we can even get to the meat of what we're doing. So this is servicing families as a whole. It's not just servicing the kid, it's servicing everyone.
So excuse me.
Councilwoman Stevens?
I'm sorry.
I just want to say that as the chair, the most successful program when we came in 2011-12 was Invest in Children. The programming was nationally acclaimed. We were able to, through Rebecca Dorman, create a program that was able to start to drill down on all aspects of early learning including these programming you're talking about, is you can send a book, but unless that family is ready to integrate that book and read and that integration piece, we're successful with that. And to take money away or enhance, I don't know what's going to happen here, but to defund and take funds away from a program that we know works and is successful and is a core county program was a little surprising to me that went forward. I didn't think it was going to. So we need to support programs that work, and we're not doing that right now. And I think we need to start looking at what works in our county as a core function versus bringing in new vendors and programs that take away from that which has proven successful. Councilwoman Stevens.
I don't want to see them compete with each other. I think that we have the ability to nurture both programs. One of the things this program does, it looks at families that don't have access to everything. They're typically families that are living at a portion of the area median income, and they have not had an opportunity to benefit from educational opportunities in the region. And they're focused on more of the whole family. You're absolutely right that this is good stuff and it's needed, and that's why I'm just kind of like, okay, where do I vote for this? But the reality is that complementary, I see Dolly Parton, the Imagination Library, as complementary. It has very little paperwork that goes with it. It encourages people to read who don't always think that reading is a priority. And so I want us to get away from competing and seeing if, especially on the education and reading piece, we can be more holistic. And as the team said in front of us, they have worked together for, I know, at least the last 5 years, because one of the folks in leadership is somebody I talk to on a regular basis. And so I know that there's been no feeling of competition. So maybe what we need to do is look at how we fund things internally.
I'm just disappointed at the way this happened again. I didn't think we're bringing in third-party vendors when our core function at the county is being neglected, because this can be enhanced. And this was one amendment that came through, and I didn't think we were doing that this time, Councilman Miller, and somehow this got through to $200,000, which could be filling slots. So it is competing with core functions, and it shouldn't have happened. It should have been looked at much differently, because there's many vendors and nonprofits lined up that are also valuable that I turned away because we didn't have the money to start funding new programs when we have something right in front of us that's successful and could use the money to expand. That's the problem. And that how this went down was a little disappointing. Councilman Tron.
I didn't get the impression that you were in competition. You're out of your own voice, it said you were complementary and working in partnership. So when I hear that, then we take the money and move it around a little bit. How many additional children would you have been able to address if you had taken all the money that is being discussed here?
200,000.
No, I'm asking, how $200,000 is the money, but do I do the simple math that says the 650 divided by this amount of money divided by your entitlement? Is that, do I get to another 25 kids, 30 kids?
So it's, we service at least 40 children per $50,000.
Okay, so we're talking that you get another 160 kids.
Yes.
And how many kids would be missing under the Dolly Parton if those books went across the county?
None.
But they wouldn't be getting, certainly those books would not be getting sent out if to the extent that we're supporting it.
I'm not sure what the Dolly Parton program's capacity is. I'm not sure what their capacity is. But if I could just say, sending a book to a parent who is unable to read doesn't help the child at all.
Okay. Yeah, I encourage the support of your program without necessarily finding fault with another program, I guess is what.
Councilman Chair, I helped Councilwoman Stephen fund that group. But the way this happened, see, let me say this, the people in front of us were given limitation on that which they could ask for money. They were given, this is their budget given by OBM. They didn't have the latitude or the license to come here and ask for more because this is the budget that was given to them. And they were restricted in what they could ask for. This should have been, I did not pursue this because I didn't know we were going to come bring a new vendor in and not be able to accomplish the whole goal of Invest in Children and what exactly is right. Sending books is a piece, but we should have looked at this differently. So it was the process, and it's not, and we already gave a lot of money. How much to Dolly Parton? A lot of money that should have sustained them over this time to work together. But what we had is one person bring in this budget item without any holistic review, and I didn't think that was going to happen. And we don't need to debate it, but this is why that should have never happened. And to bring that up on the budget floor that other day, I wasn't going to disrupt the whole budget, but I knew that this was better utilized in an integrated way to come through this programming to work as a true partnership and see how this money could best be used, because there's a limit to that which they could ask for. And so I'm not going to say, you should have asked for more because you're told not to.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
There were a diversity of views on the council on this issue. They received 40% of what they requested. Nothing was done wrong in the process. If you have a different opinion and you want to take it to the floor as an amendment, you're entitled to do that. But I think the recommendation that we came up with, that the council president and the staff supported in addition to me, is a fair recommendation that represents where we think the council is at on this question.
Well, I appreciate that, Councilman Miller, but that's just one vendor when there was so many more lined up to get money. They just happened to win the lottery because of their persistence, and it's fine, but this money could have been better, I believe, spent in a discussion with Invest in Children. So that's the point, and we could be having more impactful use of our money by going through this integrated route. And how much money did the library get, Dolly Parton, through ARPA? Trevor?
Madam Chairwoman, my comment is that we're looking at this piece of legislation.
Okay, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on.
And the budget is the appropriate place to be having.
Okay, but this is the discussion we should have had. I'm going to make a motion, this move to the next full council meeting.
And I'll second
and
that.
move on to the next issue. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trevor, just as you can comment, then we'll move into the next phase and conclude.
Afternoon, council members, Trevor Meckler, County Council staff. Dolly Parton received, the Imagination Library for the Dolly Parton Library received a total of $240,000 in ARPA dollars.
Madam Chair, but aren't you saying that the budget was amended to give them a follow-up allocation?
What, do you want me to answer that?
Yeah.
Okay, at the Committee of the Whole, the last Committee of the Whole, Council amended the 24-25 recommended budget to include $100,000 each year for 24 and 25.
That's right. And my point was that should go out to bid and looked at holistically instead of just sending money to one vendor. So that's all. Thank you. Okay, so now we have, does anybody need a break? No. Okay. Okay, it's getting a little bit fractious. There's cupcakes, if anybody wants one to help, to get, I did, let's bring them in.
That was sweet.
Yeah. The Partners is here. We appreciate you being here at the eve of Thanksgiving. Councilwoman Conwell is going to grab the cupcakes and bring them out. Please help yourselves so we don't get cranky or. That's it. Okay, we can actually come on up. Do you? No, this is just a presentation on phase 2 of the Kirby Eddy site that was finished up.
Oh, look, here they come. Ooh, let them eat cake.
Chocolate, vanilla, and pumpkin and chocolate combined. You can see one's like half and half.
Ooh, look at this.
Okay.
Which one is the pumpkin? Oh, okay.
And you can put them out there too.
Are
You guys are-
we offering it to the crowd too, or?
Yeah, they'll want one.
No.
After.
I'm gonna have pumpkin tomorrow. My wife's making a pumpkin pie.
I'm not.
You're not.
Dale, do you want one?
Sorry. Sorry, we're being rude in front of you.
Okay,
You're not
go.
supposed to eat in front of company.
He did.
Oh, was she told not to take one?
No, I was laughing. It said, oh, no, Audrey will have a fix.
Oh, look at these. Oh, no, but they got stuff on the inside too.
No, we got tissues right here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello, Director.
Good afternoon, Councilperson Simon, or Chairperson Simon, and the committee. I'm here today with Partners Environmental, John Garvey, and Hallie Miller from Partners Environmental, which is going to present the Phase 2 analysis that was taking place on the Eddy Kirby site. So I'll just let them get underway, okay?
Thank you.
Good afternoon. John Garvey with Partners Environmental. Here to present the findings of the Phase 2 environmental property assessment for the Kirby Eddy site, and a portion of. This is the site, the overall site, which we refer to as parcels 1 through 7. This assessment focuses on parcels 4 and 5. Those were the two that were deemed most likely to be a part of the overall project if the project went forward as a jail site. And they were the most readily accessible in terms of contact with ownership and being able to get in there and do the work. So that was the focus. 4 and 5 are the focus of this assessment. This is a picture of the Atwood's parcel 4, which was the Acme site. Good portion of, most of the property was at one time a building. A good portion of the building has collapsed or been demolished unofficially. And what you see there in the lower right-hand corner is basically waste, solid waste, paper, cardboard, garbage. And on top of that, to some extent, varying extents, the asbestos that is above it has fallen down on top of those piles. Those piles, to put in perspective, the roof is about 25 feet. So those piles are 8 or 10 feet high. And this is parcel 5, much less interesting. It's a pull apart right now. And the only building there is basically a hut or, a little garage and a little office. So there's not not much going on that parcel right now. So this slide, if you can read it, and I know that, I think they passed around the PowerPoint, but parcel 4 was formerly the National Acme. Parcel 5 was one or more steel manufacturers over the years. And I'll kind of focus our discussion on those two. We presented the findings of the phase 1 previously on all 7 parcels, and that went into greater detail on the history of the whole site. These are the identified areas which were found during the course of the phase 1. Identified area under the voluntary action program is just a location where we either has been or may have been a release of hazardous substances or petroleum. And the numbering is a little bit odd because the numbering is based on all 7 parcels and how that report was written. So the numbering jumps around a little bit for parcels 4 and 5, but there were 15 identified areas on parcel 4, and I think maybe 7 on parcel 5. You had abandoned underground storage tanks, typical, pretty much every industrial manufacturing operation you could have, we had between these two parcels, from plating to degreasing to painting to incinerator heat treating. So pretty typical brownfield site with a variety of potential concerns. This drawing shows those IAs that you saw in the previous slide. So this is the location of those identified areas. And these were consistent with, our findings were consistent with the previous phase 1 voluntary action program process that occurred here in the early 2000s. And the site does have a no further action and a covenant not to sue for commercial industrial use already. The reason for our work was to determine what's going to be needed to get it ready for residential use. Next slide kind of shows a combination of the previous work.
Mr. Garvey?
Yeah.
Jack Sharon has it.
Does the covenant not to sue and the no further action letter, does that go across more than just 4 and 5?
Actually, the covenant not to sue and no further action letter is only the Acme site.
Only the Acme site?
Yes.
So it doesn't even cover 5?
It doesn't cover 5.
Okay,
It was
so-
done for, I think, the current owner, if that's,
I thought it was done for the city.
no, it was done for the current owner. And it's still in place. They have an annual reporting obligation. They have some operation and maintenance obligations, basically just, they need to make sure one portion of the building is not accessed and being used, which is pretty much a no-brainer.
So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7 are not covered by the no further action letter of the
No.
covenants? Oh, shoot.
But they are covered by to some level by your report.
By the phase 1, yes.
Right. But we don't have the blessings from the state yet with,
No, and I know,
that shouldn't take a lot, would it?
No, well, let's talk about what they found. Madam Chair, can we go ahead and have dialogue with Mr. Garvey rather than let him do a report card? Where'd she go?
Who's the vice chair?
yeah, our findings are coming.
I wanted.
We're just asking questions.
We
Now we've
wanted
opened dialogue. We're
We wanted your permission to dialogue with him rather than.
dialoguing at this point in time.
Because I have like a page and a half of homework notes.
Good.
So,
I look forward to it.
I want to begin to talk about, 35 plus acres is a substantive amount of land that can be consolidated in an urban setting. Right?
Yeah, yes.
You've done this work since I met you a number of years ago. And we keep finding these little baby parcels that are not attached to anything else. And here we have 7 sites that we can consolidate and make into something significant that can help our community with more than one option, one of which several of my colleagues and I have been committed to, the jail, but it's also incredibly important for us to look at ways to recycle our core communities. Otherwise, we will abandon every core city in this country, except for New York and Los Angeles, and we shouldn't do that. And I think the report that you gave us showed this as a very viable site. The study that was done by HCW of a while ago shows that the parcel number 4 can be reused. The state has given it an NFA and a methodology to make it stay clean. We just don't have an owner who's interested in doing everything that needs to be done. But it's in the foreclosure process so that the state, via the land bank or the county, could take control and do the right thing with this site. Demo the building, clean up all the materials, and none of the materials that are on 4, since it's the dirtiest of them all, in my opinion, are barriers to redevelopment. We know that asbestos and lead are taken out of homes every day, and families live in them quite healthily. And typically, we can do soil borings that allow us to test how far down we have to clean, or we can create barriers with concrete that allow residential living above it, right?
Correct.
So we have these other parcels, 5, 6, and 7 specifically, because they make this one of the larger sites that we could look at. And every time I looked at your report, because I looked at it like 5 times, I kind of nerded out on it. It said that documents that you're testing, the concentrations of things like VOCs, PAHs, metals, and TPH in the soil don't exceed the residential uses for most of this area. Except where it was, because you have this chart that shows identified areas of concern, like the 14,000-gallon fuel tank. That's removable, correct?
Yeah.
Removable, and of course you remove the tank, and then describe to us how we make yes, those are all the chemical concerns. So yeah, for nerds like us, we got to see all those things. They're at a testing level, they do register, but they can be removed and the site can be usable.
Yes. I mean, I think that the solution on this site would more likely be relying on our pavements and hard surfaces as engineering controls, and probably for green space, bringing in 2 feet of clean cover. It would be the most practical solution rather than trying to dig out of it. HCW did a fair amount of digging back when they were doing their work, took confirmation samples on their sidewalls, and they didn't meet standards, so they ended up engineering controlling, basically capping the area anyway. And if you're redeveloping the site, that's really the most practical way to go.
Can you talk about engineering controls that allow it to be used in what type of manners?
Well, the engineering controls can be used to make it safe for residential use. The pavements will eliminate the risk of direct contact with any of the contaminants. Vapor barrier would eliminate the risk of vapor intrusion and breathing any of the volatile contaminants, and institutional controls that basically say you can't drink the water would eliminate that pathway of concern. So basically, the approach here wouldn't be that different from transport when we looked at that site.
This is a cleaner site than transport.
It doesn't have the methane, so it is significantly different in that way.
So tell us why we would seek residential cleanup level.
Well, under our scope, under our scenario, the end use would be a jail, which would have to meet residential standards.
And in the world of cleanup, residential is the highest and best?
Yes.
And so that's why you search for something that's clean upable to the residential level, because it's the highest and best. And when you walk away, it's the cleanest and most adaptable for reuse?
Yes.
Are you unsure?
Councilwoman Stevens, when there's,
So I'm looking at the ability to do a risk mitigation plan, an NFA, or a covenant not to sue on this type of site. Are those possible?
Yeah, yeah.
All of the above or just one of the above?
There would be a risk mitigation plan, engineering controls with an O&M plan. And the only institutional control would be that this would be what would be called a restricted residential use, meaning it meets residential standards because of engineering controls. So you couldn't go out here and do a single-family, redevelopment because you wouldn't be able to verify that those engineering controls were in place everywhere for single-family development. So restricted residential, we basically have to meet the same standards, but we can use engineering controls to do it.
Other than where we identified the large tank, there is no other site, no other concentrated contamination that prohibits you from moving forward with an institutional use that has a significant residential element?
No, there are areas of higher concentrations of contaminants than others. Those are currently subject to an operation and maintenance plan and would be handled, continue to be managed through an engineering control under the restricted residential scenario.
So this site is workable, clean upable, and has potential redevelopment uses. You're the evaluator, you're not the one to tell us yes or no to what we do, but you can clean this up so we can use it in almost any manner, if that's our decision.
Yes.
Madam Chair, back to you.
thank you. Do you have a question, Councilman Tron? And then you have more with your presentation, right?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask now, Councilman?
Just based on what I thought I heard you say, it did have constraints against residential use. You could do capping of the site for a restricted residential use. You could not put single-family housing on this because you could not guarantee it. So therefore, it cannot get to the highest standard of single-family residential use.
Unrestricted residential would be, that would be the highest standard.
You cannot move to that level with this site, at least based on what I thought.
Not all of it.
Not all of it, and practically speaking, it's from an exposure to the occupants of the property standpoint, it's technically the same standard. It's just that you're relying on an engineering control to get there under the restricted residential. So, for example, we have multifamily apartment buildings on restricted residential use sites. So from an exposure standpoint to those residents, it's the same as if we had cleaned up the soil. We are just cutting off the pathway between the soil and the person.
Putting caps, I mean,
Yeah.
Your piles of rubble aren't any different than the piles of rubble that I experienced when we cleaned up the Conway Railroad yards. Our capping site is capping stuff that we can't
Right.
dig and build a building. I got that part.
Yeah.
It just seems to me that there's also a good use, based on what you're describing, having heard the lieutenant governor and having heard the mayor, that they're looking for sites exactly like this from a commercial standpoint.
Mhm.
Does this fall into that?
Sure.
What they're looking for right this moment?
Yes.
The mayor is trying to put together sites of 50-acre parcels right this moment. Does this fall within that category?
It does.
So you had some more to say, John?
Well, I mean, your questions kind of got to it. I mean, in the end,
I was eager.
you know, there'd be an environmental covenant, O&M plan. We'd have to close that one Buster Bureau of Underground Storage Tank, regulated underground storage tank, deal with the asbestos, risk mitigation plan during construction, engineering controls for the final end use.
So I tend to go to the back of the report. I start my reading there, where you typically, in the format that your firm uses, you talk about remedial activities, the NFA, whether the risk mitigation is needed, and whether you can comply with certain standards. And the UIs always talk about what standards are best and what are applicable. So you and Hallie would have read the testing for this?
Yes.
And articulate what your final finding and recommendation to us as the client is.
Well, for a meeting a restricted residential standard, it's summarized on the findings and remedies slide that's up on the screen now. Basically, environmental covenant, making the site restricted to restricted residential. The environmental covenant would also have a groundwater use restriction. There would be a risk mitigation plan for construction worker protections. And then the barrier engineering controls, I should say direct contact engineering controls, and the vapor mitigation engineering controls that are subject to O&M.
Given where we are as Cuyahoga County, are there any sites, isn't it difficult to find a site that doesn't have some environmental issue in general?
In Cuyahoga County, in general, more so within the more urban areas of Cuyahoga County.
Madam Chair, this site is workable.
Thank you. Workable to build a jail, right?
That's right.
Sufficient acreage, ability to clean it up, remove and reuse in up to standard residential with that qualification.
Yeah, the acreage, I'm not.
That's not, I'm just speaking to my colleague,
yes.
who we know what the acreage requirements are for the jail site. And time frame, like what kind of time frame would we anticipate to clean up and get it up to speed?
Well, we weren't really tasked with pricing out or putting a schedule together on the demolition and the removal of that material in that building. That's really, those are the things that would have to happen before most of our cleanup, if you will, is part of construction. So the buildings would have to come down, the material in the Acme building would have to come out, the asbestos abatement would have to be done. At that point, and the timing on that, I don't know. I mean,
What about,
a
I'm
year?
sorry, once the demo happened and the pre-work happened, then what's the cleanup period in your experience?
The cleanup is all integrated with the construction.
Okay.
So the cleanup's not really done until that building is up and the vapor barrier's in, and we go in and do indoor air testing and show that it worked. But it's at that point that the covenant not to sue would be issued.
So site prep is where the cleanup is done.
If there's cleanup, like the tank removal?
Yeah, it's site prep.
Yeah.
It's the very first stage of a deal.
Yep.
Somebody is hired to go and take down any existing structure, abate. Well, usually I abated before I demoed because additional debris got contaminated. So if you abate, then demo, then clean up any additional residual contamination in the soil, you can begin your construction with the creation of the barriers and or bringing any clean fill in if necessary. Right?
Right.
And that varies depending on how busy the construction industry is or how hungry they are for this type of project. When they're busy, you can't get anything done on schedule. When they're hungry and not busy, you can get things done faster than you ever thought. So the question is, how busy is the construction industry in this town?
Well, I'm not really an expert on that. There's Sherwin-Williams, and I think eventually Intel will take everyone we want in Cleveland. But yeah, I don't know. I think how busy are the demolition people, I think, is the question.
How busy and affordable?
Thank you for your time. I don't know if there's questions from colleagues to Mr. Harvey, Dale, Miller. So to sum it up, thank you for doing this. I'm so glad we were able to hear from you about this report. You took the time to do it. You were paid by the county to do it. The council authorized this done. And you needed an opportunity, in my opinion, for us to hear what the findings are. And we appreciate that and
Appreciate
your
the
time.
opportunity.
I don't think I have any questions other than the conclusion that your report reveals is that we can use this for a site that we're looking to build on. Thank you.
Thanks.
Madam Chair. So I
Councilwoman.
Just want to ask a question to Mr. Gary.
Garvey, John Garvey.
Garvey. So you were commissioned to do this report by the Cuyahoga County. Did they ever ask you what the findings were?
Yes, we've provided reports through Department of Public Works.
Did they have dialogue with you, though, in terms of what the reports meant?
County Council?
No, the administration, Public Works.
Yeah, yes.
Was there any concern coming from Public Works about the findings of the report as it may apply to building a jail and using it as a site?
No, not from our findings, no.
Okay. Councilwoman Schron.
And this has nothing to do with the jail at this point in time, but it does have something to do with your report is a tool we can use should there be a development of this site for another purpose other than a jail. Would that be a logical thing also to assume that we've got a foundation that could be used for an industrial application that fits the needs of what the mayor and what the governor are looking for right now of trying to amass 50-acre parcels?
Yes.
This would be a valuable tool.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so nice that Councilman Schron wants to work with Mayor Bibb on a project. That's great to hear.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Director.
Hi, Councilwoman Simon. Just that comment that just came from Councilperson Schron. We have actually shared this same report with the City of Cleveland. So their development team, Jeff Epstein, just so they have it available. They had requested it. Also, they're looking at the site for other potential uses too. So information, it's very helpful to them to know what the phase 2 is for this area. Once again, this was very localized to just areas 4 and 5 of that 7 locations, those 7 parcels. So.
Okay, here's the deal. This county council authorized this study done for the purpose of potentially building a jail there. That was the point of the study. So all of a sudden, and for some reason, this report came in, and instead of sharing it with this council that authorized its commission, it is being shared with the City of Cleveland and touted as a tool to help facilitate a different development, different from the jail that this was commissioned to look at. So I just want to make that clear on the record that we're not, the majority of us who wanted this was for one purpose, not to, it's not ameliorating the problem here by saying I'm going to give it to the City of Cleveland to do something with and think that that's going to solve the jail issue. It's not. I'm just saying, you know why we did this, and it's not you. You're doing what you're told, but the council authorized this as a potential jail site, not to help the City of Cleveland find a developer. So when I keep hearing this through different permeations of directors from, economic development director and, this site, this site, this site. Well, no, this site is being looked at by this county council for a jail. So I'm just saying that, and it's getting lost somehow in the ethers that, or somehow of, I don't know, justification, and it's okay to go somewhere else. It's not.
The document wasn't shared with anyone. It first came to the Public Works Department and then in turn was shared with County Council.
But it was shared.
It was through, we shared the draft document and then we finalized it. And so I'm sorry if I misspoke in regards to City of Cleveland.
You said it was
Just-
shared with the city of Cleveland.
Yeah, ultimately, this was given to council back in, I believe it was sometime in October.
Who was it
6th.
shared with at the city of Cleveland?
And then the city of Cleveland knew that we had finished the report, so in turn, there was a request made to share the report with the administration, and we did so. And I would say that happened probably around the last week of October.
I'm going to assure that my colleagues that there's probably aggressive action going on to hurry and find a developer for this site, so it would preclude the building of a jail. If I had to guess, it's, they want to take away the site and quickly find another developer to come in so that we don't have an alternative. And that, I believe that's probably what has been occurring, and that's so disappointing to me. Perhaps we could have more traction on building a new jail if we had this alternate site, which I believe is far superior, but I think there's efforts being made to make sure that it's not available. Thank you. All right, any other comments? I thank everybody on the eve of Thanksgiving for coming here, and cupcakes.
Oh, yeah, they were
Please
good.
take some. They're vegan.
Oh, even better, yeah.